Hey Sneak Peekers, I'm Gavin.
And I'm Anna.
And we're here with Robert Capron and AJ Davis to talk about their new short Vial at Awesome Film Festival. So I guess starting off, how are y'all doing? How's your experience been with the festival so far? And what's AFF been like for y'all?
Yeah, it's been great. I've only been to Austin once before, about a year ago, but I've been absolutely loving having like a week closed off to just watch movies and eat amazing food. And I haven't had as much time to explore the city, but that's always a reason to come back. But it's been absolutely great. I've gotten to meet a lot of really like-minded filmmakers and just see all different kinds of movies in a short amount of time, which I always absolutely adore. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed the city when I've been here, and I'm excited. I'm bummed I'm leaving today because there's a couple days of screening-specific stuff happening, which I really would have liked to have gone to, but so it goes. But it's been absolutely wonderful. So many great people, movies, everything.
I've appreciated the fact that, it's the first film festival I've ever been to that's predominantly about writing. A lot of the filmmakers here were selected because of, obviously, the quality of their films and how they directed it, but the writing of that. So there's something really unique and special in that, and the community that I've seen at this festival and Austin at large, although I haven't explored that much because the festival is so sprawling. It's been wonderful. I've had a wonderful time.
Awesome. Is there anything that y'all have seen at AFF that you were really enthusiastic about?
Yeah, I've seen a couple things I've been really enthusiastic about. I saw this movie called The Wise Guy that I thought was really sweet. It was about, without getting too into it, it was about this kid whose parents were going through a divorce, and he's really into plants, and he kind of retreats into the woods, and he ends up meeting this like aged mafia don, who kind of teaches him how to like find his way through it, and it takes some interesting turns from there. But I thought it was a very, very sweet movie, and I thought the origin story behind how it was made was really cool. I also really liked they did a retrospective screening of Throne of Blood, which I'd actually never seen, and so I thought it was really, really cool to go to that. And actually see that movie for the first time because that's been on my list for forever. And they had that at the Paramount Theater, which I really, really liked. It was beautiful.
It's awesome.
It's beautiful. I geek out whenever I'm in a theater like that. Like, at some point I got to make like a Google Doc or like spreadsheet of like every city's like cool theater like that, So I thought that was really cool.
We went to Throne of Blood together, which was great. I haven't seen as many movies. That's why I'm staying longer to catch up on the screenings. I mostly have gone to panels, and I've been to some amazing ones. I went to one on the Prestige miniseries with Craig Mazin. I went to a Challenger Succession panel. I went to a Making of Sing Sing panel, and that's something that I really, as I was saying before, love about the festival is the opportunity to have writers talking about their conception and construction of things that we love. Usually it's a director or an actor. And, I could see more of those interviews online or go to something else in person. But it's nice to be at a place where you want to go to so many things you forget to eat, which has happened almost every day of the festival for me. Those are some of the things I've seen that I loved.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Vial. Do you want to ask the...
Yeah, so Vial is about a relapsed addict who sets out to find clean urine at the risk of losing the custody of his son, which is a very heavy topic to talk about. So how did that come about, like the inspiration of writing it and just the whole project?
Yeah, so I could start with that. AJ and I met 4 days into freshman year at Brown. We lived a couple doors down from each other in substance-free housing, which I had been sorted into completely randomly, and AJ had been sorted into very specifically. I'm at his request. And upon meeting AJ, I was essentially introduced to this world I had no idea about whatsoever, that of substance abuse and recovery and incarceration and trying to find your way back into society and doing what you can to do that in the face of a system that isn't necessarily really trying to help you out in the best way that they can. It was kind of a crash course in a lot of different things, very aggressively. And so we started making movies, almost immediately after we met each other. And we were always really interested in those themes, so we made a movie together that kind of had to do with a lot of those themes. It was a very personal story about I almost said, was he 17? I know he was 17. He says he was 17. About a 17-year-old who's an alcoholic trying to find his way out of that. And we've written a bunch together since. We've gone a bunch of different places, blah, blah, blah. And then with Vial, it was one of those things where, like, I don't think we actually sort of ever officially said this, but I think subconsciously it was AJ's thesis, grad student thesis film at LMU. I think subconsciously we were kind of interested in going back into some of those themes and going, okay, we've become much better filmmakers, much better writers. If we were to tackle some of these ideas again, how do we get into that? Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. We're the same level of filmmaker that we were when we were 18. No, the movie we made on these things is terrible. But for some reason, people liked it. I think because they got guilted with the whole recovery thing.
I was dancing around it being terrible, but if we want to just, we can.
For me, stories of recovery and addiction are important to me. I'm 8 years sober. I'm very open about that. Do volunteer work with that. And, we have become more subtle storytellers, he and I together. And I realized an inflection point of what addiction and how we treat it in this country is the drug test, because that moment determines your future, how your life might change. Do you still have your freedom? Are you still with your family? Do you have to stay at rehab longer? Are you kicked out of school? Do you lose your job? And you could say it's the use, but that it's their fault they got high. Well, they have a substance use issue. It's a much more serious thing to treat. So the reason we made this film was not to show someone who was using opioids, not to show glorification of use, but more to show consequence on all sides. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I promise there are also moments where it is funny. But yeah, it is a very serious topic, and the reason we made this and we're developing it into a feature is because we want to show all sides of the issue in a nuanced way that not everyone's seen before. So I forget what your question was, but I feel like overall that we answered it.
And we've kind of already talked about this, but AFF is a festival that really centers its writers. And I know, Robert, you've been writing for the better half of a decade now. And AJ, this is your grad thesis. I mean, that's a pretty big leap into the professional world. So I guess my question is, what has the journey been like, and how does it feel to finally see that work put in front of a big festival audience?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating. I started out as an actor, and I've been involved in entertainment and storytelling, however you want to put it, since I was 8. But even when I first started, when I was 8, the first thing I did was it was a play at my elementary school called Super Baby Save Halloween. And I played Spider Baby, and I wrote a whole song for myself, and blah blah blah. I ripped my diaper off on stage. It was a whole thing. And so, I do think that the writing component has kind of always been there. Having worked as an actor for the majority of my life, it's been really a gift to see that other side come in of making the story and seeing what other people bring to the table. I always say that one of my favorite things about writing is that what everybody else brings in, the collaboration component. I have a very specific memory of when I was at Brown. I wrote a couple articles for this arts and culture magazine there, and my favorite part about it wasn't even writing the articles. They'd be fine. I don't know, but on the day it would come out, somebody would have made a drawing with it, and I always thought it was so cool that because I'd written this thing that maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, I don't know, somebody else had made this art piece to go with it. And I tend to think of writing for film or TV or whatever as probably highest profile version of that you can possibly do. And I think that's so cool. And so it's amazing to be able to see Vial in a room full of people and see the domino effect of like me being in my room in LA, like on the phone with AJ and our friend David talking a lot about like, okay, like maybe you should go here, maybe do this. This one's also particularly special because I honestly really feel like I learned how to actually writing this. We probably had about 40 drafts of the short, and we spent a lot of time really trying to put a feature into 15 minutes. And at a certain point, we kind of realized you just can't do that, you know? So it really taught me pacing, essentials. Yeah, this one in particular is pretty special for that. It feels good to be showing it around.
Nice. What about you?
All in all, this project took about 2 years, which for a 14-minute movie, you're like, guys, we got to go quicker. But we were making other movies during that. You know, we wrote every version of this story under the sun. You know, the main character was different ages, different genders, had kids, did not have kids, was in different cities. And then eventually we, you know, honed, you know, I guess maybe 48 drafts into what we have now, which is kind of taking all those ideas and putting them into one script that actually works. I always say, you know, we learned on about 20 films to make a very good one. And that's, you know, this one. But the writing process was, you know, almost the same as it's been for us for 8 years. You know, since that first couple of weeks of freshman year, we've been making movies together constantly, or at least writing together constantly. So the process hasn't changed much. It's 3 friends, you know, arguing and making something work. And that sounds combative. It's not. It's just the way we all like to work as co-writers. And it's been, you know, the most important collaboration of my life. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, kind of on the topic of collaboration, if you want to ask this next question, and I'll kind of open it up a little more broadly.
You guys were mentioning that you have lots of other projects that you worked on together. Is there anything that you're like excited to work on or like make it its own thing, come into fruition?
The feature.
Yeah. I was gonna say we're very much working on a feature. The wonderful thing about trying to cram a feature into a short is when it's time to make the feature, you have ideas, and so we felt pretty good about expanding that story. And I think one of the things that we felt about the short, without spoiling or getting into too much, is that like one of the dynamics we were really interested in exploring was that idea of, in the process of recovery and rehabilitation and reintroducing oneself into society, there's very much the legal, I have to do this and this and this. And there's also the emotional, I haven't seen my kid in 7 years, you know? I haven't done this. Like my teenage daughter, in the case of what we're doing with the feature, like my teenage daughter's really been picking up the slack. And now I'm trying to reconnect and reacclimate with her, but she's a little wary because she's been picking up the slack while I was gone and kind of running the show. So we've got a draft of the feature completed, and we've begun sending it out to producers. And we're really excited to get that going. Hopefully, you know, in the next 2 years, we can bring that to fruition.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Ditto.
And so I was actually curious. I saw, Robert, that you were a writer's assistant for the Muppets.
Yeah.
Mayhem.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to open it up, you know, what was that experience like working in a writer's room, and even, you know, generally more broadly, like how do y'all approach collaboration and working with large, you know, groups of people to make these things?
Yeah. A writer's assistant job is very interesting because I think it's a little bit different depending on every room you're in. Like, you know, like if you're a writer in a writer's room, you're going to be writing. I think with a writer's assistant job, it's interesting because no matter what, you're usually taking notes. Like, you're listening to everybody. It's a great way to pick what works and what doesn't, kind of transcribe that down. So you're taking notes on the discussions everyone's having. You're bolding, like, the keywords people are saying. My favorite thing about it, the thing that was both the most stressful and the most interesting, was that you essentially kind of had to play detective sometimes. there'd be a situation where one of the writers would be like, there's a joke with like a bicycle and like an owl mask. Robert, can you go find that? And so we would have been working 5 months at this point, you know? And so it would be my job to kind of play detective and go through like all the notes, all these different systems, find whatever joke. And they might be misremembering. It could have been a rabbit mask. So if I put an owl, I'm screwed, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was one of those things where like it was kind of fun to like, you basically had to be paying like hyper specific attention all the time. Because somebody might need something at spur of the moment, and you basically can have to run back and find that really quickly. I really enjoyed that. It was a really illuminating experience into how the process actually works. AJ was kind of talking about this in a completely separate context yesterday, actually. But one thing that's really interesting is there's very much a point where you're writing your dream script, and then production realities kind of start to set in. And so what ends up happening, too, is, like, with the Muppets, there's a ton of production realities. I remember there was a spirited debate because one person really wanted a joke of a car crashing through the wall. And one of the other writers, who was, like, a seasoned veteran of the Muppets and stuff, was like, well, if you do that, we're going to need a ramp that lifts up like 3 feet, because I don't know if you guys know this, but every Muppet set is elevated at least 3 feet so the puppeteers can get under. And like we kind of got into an argument, but it essentially was like one guy going like, we already have a bunch of Muppets and we're elevating it 3 feet. Like, can we just make a ramp for the car? Like, how is that impossible? So it's kind of interesting to see when people go back and forth with that. But I absolutely loved it. I felt like I learned a ton. It's amazing how much things can change, too. Like, I was amazed how the show started out versus where it ended. Even, like, sometimes there would be characters who were, like, major plot points, that by the end of it, they were gone. And, like, it made sense. And you would understand, like, where all that went, but it was just beautiful and weird to see that whole process in action.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, so when it comes to writing in a group or, like, writing together, obviously you guys have been doing this for a while, but, like, how does it different from when you want to do your own project or when you're handed something that you have to work with?
So I started out in fiction, and I'm actually going to be pushing a book I've been working on for 10 years out to publishers in January. So I started there. I started completely alone. Thinking I was just going to, be a guy who writes in a room until I met these guys and we started making movies. So I've had to kind of code switch between fiction projects alone, different style of prose, to working with these guys. And it is a very different dynamic. Writing with your buddies is fun. It can be spirited and you can argue, but it's fun. Writing by yourself is less fun. Then you're just like, I'm a crazy person talking to people that aren't real in my head, and someone thinks they'll pay me for it. So, it's the difference between a solo project and a group project. I love our spirited debates. I love how we can challenge each other. Ultimately, when you're writing alone, you're going to get notes. You're going to have to improve your project. When you're writing with people that you trust and really care about, you get those notes live. So there can be a bit more pressure on you to perform. The real difference, it's based on preference of what you want. To me, it's an extension of filmmaking. Filmmaking is all collaboration. Even if you're, the director, it's not just yours. It's the art department's. It's your cinematographer. It's your fellow screenwriter. You're all pushing towards something, and you think you know how it's going to look, but you really don't. If you get, a small percentage of what you had in your head, you did a good job. That's of what lands on screen. So the difference really is in, to me, it's a reflection of what kind of work you want to have, what you want to put out, and more than that, the activeness with which you're in it. When you're writing alone, it's easier to procrastinate. it's easier to not challenge yourself as much when you're writing with a partner. They can really bring you up.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Is there like something like a film or a TV show that you're like, this is so good, I wish I had written it?
Yeah, he's gesturing to me because I never shut up about it. I adore Better Call Saul. Like I think Breaking Bad is a perfect show.
Mm-hmm.
I think Better Call Saul are people who made a perfect show. Better Call Saul is people who made a perfect show going back and being like, we're just gonna make like the most refined. It's just so good. Like I love the way that show is written. Have either of you seen it? It's okay if not. I will not judge.
I'm still halfway through Breaking Bad.
Okay.
So I haven't seen.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. But you know Saul.
But I know Saul. Yes.
But you know Saul.
What are you doing here? You should be watching.
Yeah.
And that's the problem perpetually.
Yeah, it's our fault.
Yeah. Yeah. But well, you have a lot to look forward to because I absolutely adore that show. I think the way they set up the fact it takes place before Breaking Bad and how they play with Saul's character and your understanding of him. I won't get too into it because I won't spoil, but it's amazing. I love BoJack Horseman. Yeah. I adore that show. Succession.
Love Succession.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the pilot last night, actually.
Oh, yeah. I miss Succession a lot. I miss that a lot. But, yeah, there's a lot of those. I'm trying to think. Those are the ones that usually come to mind on the TV side. There's definitely movies I could go on and on and on. But
What about you?
There's so many. So I'm going to try and whittle it down. Succession's a big one. I'm feeling a TV void now that it's over.
I agree.
Me
Nothing
too.
else is the same. Yeah, Succession. In terms of movies, a favorite is that came out recently is Sing Sing, Uncut Gems. The list goes on and on and on, and we don't have that much time.
Hundreds of Beavers. If you haven't seen
Oh,
that.
okay. I've heard.
Hundreds
yeah,
of
I'm familiar with
Beavers
that
is
one.
a blast. Like I think that would be such a fun movie to make. It is so funny.
I'm still meaning to watch it. I'll have to get.
I
to
would
it.
highly recommend. But.
I wish I had written Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask that question?
Do you? Yeah. Okay. So, given that we are a student television organization and we are clearly of a certain age,
Oh, of course.
I feel like we have to ask.
But
at
of course.
at least a couple Wimpy Kid questions.
Absolutely.
So,
Ask away.
starting off, I guess I really want to kind of connect to your career now. How do you think having a foot in the filmmaking process and being in that environment so early, do you think that has maybe influenced or informed, your path and your career since then?
100,000%. Yeah, I mean, like, I probably wouldn't be sitting in this room right now if it wasn't for Wimpy Kid and all the opportunities that gave me. I wouldn't be, like, I think that it's kind of freaks me out to think about the domino effect of that, because I've gotten to go to so many places and I've had so many opportunities and I've had so many different things because of that. It's interesting because I would say that, when I kind of made the jump over to the writing side of things, one of the things I realized really quickly was that because I got into acting as early as I did, I had a really great understanding of script formatting. Excuse me, fast. But it was kind of weird because, like, though I had a great understanding of script formatting, I still had a lot to kind of relearn and figure out in terms of, like, pacing and things like that, right? Like, so I understood kind of how it looked, but I was still very much interpreting it from, like, the acting perspective. I could go on about that for a while, but it gives to me constantly, like I will be. It amazes me how much people love that and cared about it, and like even now, like I live in Los Angeles now, and like I'll run into some people and like we'll be geeking out about movies, and then that'll come up, and it'll just be like, whoa, and I'm like, I'm so impressed by this person, I'm kind of shocked that they care.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of this weird, like, oh, like I had this very weird thing the other day where like do y'all know like Doug Jones?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I met him super randomly, and he was a huge Wimpy Kid fan,
Really?
which shocked me. Like, really shocked me.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it really, really, really threw me a lot. But yeah, like it is endlessly giving. I'm endlessly thankful for it. And it gave me probably one of the best foundations you could have in the world. You know, like really, I'm very, very lucky to have known what I wanted to do as long as I have.
Well, that's very awesome. We can move on to this one. If you want to ask it.
Sure, and you guys were also film students,
Yeah.
just like we are. So what's like your advice for kids that are like young and just trying to break into this industry?
I feel like when I get questions like this, I answer with cliches, but cliches are cliches for a reason. Truly, just make things. Like, it is so insanely easy to just make something now with the camera that you got in your pocket, you know? I think the earlier you get started with that, I think the earlier you try writing the first script, make things and send them to people. And if they go back and they go, that sucks, that's okay. Like, it's one of those things where you need to work that muscle.
We made a lot of crap.
We did, yes. And I thought, because I got started with acting as early as I did, that everything I made was going to be great because I had the leg up. And I learned really quickly that was not the case at all. So truly, like, just make things, learn, make it your muscle memory, you know? Like, because you will start picking up on things. You'll start avoiding situations that you wouldn't have known to avoid last time, you know? Yeah.
Something there are a few things I say to, college students either entering or leaving film school, grad school, whatever. Especially those going in, I'm like, do you need this? Like this, can you do anything else? If you can't, you're like me, we're insane. But if you're like, yeah, then I'm like, okay, get a job where you get paid. More than that, I found in grad school, and I love all my friends from grad school, there's a certain level of, well, I'm at this program, so then I will leave and my career will start. And that does not happen. Maybe if you're some sort of genius, I am not. Everyone I went to film school with is not. It's all up to you. When you're in a program like this that gives you a lot of tools, it's a trade school. You're learning your craft, and you have to make the most of that. You have to go outside of the program and meet other filmmakers, people who are going to maybe give you money for a project, or maybe you're doing research on something. It doesn't happen in the classroom in film school. It really doesn't. It happens on set and it happens outside as you start to begin your career. So I always tell people, like, don't wait. Start trying to find subjects, start trying to find stories, start researching. Maybe, take a trip to LA, even though I really don't like LA. That's why I moved back to New York. Try and meet with reps. I mean, you have the world at your disposal. You just have to push and fight for the opportunity to have other people see you, similar to send your stuff out. It's easy to think if I make the perfect movie in the classroom at school that's the beginning of things, and that's it's not how it works. So, while you're in school, start really fighting for your future, and then people will respond to that. They really will. Sorry if what I said is scary.
It's true. It's real. It's something we all need to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much. And we really appreciate y'all coming in. It's been a blast. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. We certainly have.
Oh, this has been great. Yeah. Like, actually great. This has been, like, my favorite interview of the last week and everything.
Oh,
thank you.
well,
No, it has.
We did
It
not
has.
pay him to say that.
But yeah, I guess maybe my last question is, where can maybe our audience expect to see Vial?
Both he and I will post about it on our little IGs. You can go to vialfilm.com to check out, when we post it publicly. But it should probably be out publicly in a few months as we kind of wait and see, what happens with certain festivals.
Awesome. Well, thank you, AJ. Thank you, Robert. And thank you, Sneak Peekers, for tuning in. We will see y'all later. And be sure to check out more content from Austin Film Festival.